It's time to check out Tailwind CSS. Everybody's talking about Tailwind today, and it's pretty awesome, to be honest. So I'm very glad to present this video for you. In this video, we're going to check out how to set up a development environment with Tailwind. Yeah, because it isn't that straightforward. So I created this video to show you how to set up your own development environment. And I will stress that this is a dev environment where you can work with Tailwind locally and try it out and stuff like that, because you will have to add other stuff if you're going to use it in production. But we'll get back to that soon. As always, make sure that you're inside a folder where you want to create a project. And we're going to create a new folder. And I'm going to call it Tailwind boilerplate. All right, let's navigate inside that folder. There's nothing there now, so we have to create some stuff here. First, we can make a git init. So that will make sure that this is using git. Then we can also type npm init-y. So we create a package.json file. You can see that we have it there. And we can open up our code editor. Or if you want to create the files and folders in your terminal, it's up to you, because now I'm going to create some stuff here. We'll bump this up for you. Okay, so we're inside a folder now, and we're going to create two other folders. So first, I create a folder that's called dist, and then another folder that's called src. And then we have to create some files. Inside our dist folder, we create a file that's called index.html. And inside our source folder, we're going to create a new file that we can call, we can name it index.js, and also a file that's called styles.css. You can name them to whatever you want, of course. Then we're going to create some files here. So inside the root folder here, we can close these ones. We create a file that we call postcss.config.js. And this is important that you get this naming correctly. Then we have another file that we'll call webpack.config.js. So that's the files that we're going to create, and we're going to return to the terminal now and install all our dependencies. All right, so we have a few dependencies that we need to install, and we're going to install them as dev dependencies. So npm i-save-dev. First, of course, we're going to need Tailwind. So Tailwind CSS. Then we're going to need Webpack, because Webpack is the bundler that we use in this tutorial. So Webpack. Then we need the Webpack-CLI and Webpack-dev-server, because I'm going to use the Webpack dev server. So it will be a really smooth dev environment to work with. It will auto-update when you change the files and stuff like that. And you can serve the files locally when you develop stuff. So you could, of course, not use the dev server if you don't want to do that, but I'll use it here. So that's the Tailwind and Webpack stuff. Then we need some other dependencies here for this to work. And first we have something that's called CSS-loader. And I will get back to this when we set up the Webpack config. We also need something that's called style-loader. And Tailwind is based on PostCSS, so we'll need PostCSS-loader. And then we need PostCSS. It changed the row here now. Sorry for that. See if we can do it like this. Yeah, it's PostCSS. So it's a lot of packages we'll install here, but this is enough. So we press enter. Okay, that seemed to work. So back inside of our code editor. Oh, what is it complaining about? Yeah. It tells me to add a git ignore file, and we should do that, of course. So I will say yes here, and it will create a git ignore where we ignore the node modules folder. We don't want git to track that one. Okay, and I'll make this bigger for us. I got this insanely big font size here for you guys to see everything on my screen, but it's actually quite hard to code like this. Okay, so let's first start off in our src folder in the index.js file. Webpack by default only understands JavaScript, so we have to import from / our styles.css. So it's important to have that one inside of the index.js file, and this is the only row of code we need inside of this file. And then I actually forgot to do something here, so let's go back inside of the terminal. We don't have to do this, but we can create a Tailwind config file, and you can do that with npx tailwind init. So as you can see here, it will create this config file for us. We're not going to modify this now, but it could be good for you to know that you can create this config file, and it's in this file that you config everything that you need to do for Tailwind. All right, so back inside of styles.css, and inside here we're going to use the Tailwind directive to insert our base components and utilities styles inside of our CSS. So Tailwind, and then we have the base and another Tailwind directive. Yeah, we should have a semicolon, and then we have the components and a third directive, Tailwind utilities. So that's all the directives we need. And as you can see here, VS Code complains unknown @rule at Tailwind CSS. It doesn't matter because this is only some linting stuff. We can save this. But if you want to fix this, I found this little page here, Visual Studio Code, CSS linting with Tailwind. You can install some stuff here. I think it's a plugin for VS Code to use if you want to get rid of this. So just do a little Googling for this or use this URL up here and you will be able to fix this. I won't care about it now, but it's an easy fix if you want to do that. Okay, so that's our index.js. This one will import our styles file, and our styles file will use the Tailwind directive to import the base components and utilities. Okay, so let's set up the other files. First, we can set up the postcss.config.js file, and we type module.exports. And we're going to config PostCSS to use Tailwind. So we have the plugins. It's an array we require. And this is going to get long, so I'll remove this sidebar. We require the Tailwind CSS, and we're going to specify from / our tailwind.config.js. We make a comma and another require, and we're going to use the auto prefixer. Some auto formatting. Save this file. So this is all the setup that we need for the PostCSS config. It's basically telling the PostCSS that we want to use Tailwind and the config for the Tailwind. And then we auto prefix it also. Then we have the dreaded Webpack config. Webpack is known to be a little bit advanced, and I can totally understand that because it is a little bit advanced, but I'm going to try to explain this for you as good as possible. So let's be working in the webpack.config.js file, and I'll remove the sidebar again, and we'll start from the top here. First, we're going to require path, and path is built in Node.js. So we require path. We're going to use the property resolve from path, and resolve will create the proper path string for us. Okay. Then we module.exports equals, and we have an object, and we are going to set up the config now for Webpack. First, we have the entry property, and from / src index.js. And this is going to be our entry file for Webpack. And if you remember, we just have this little row here where we import the styles. So this is the entry point for Webpack. Comma, and we have another property that we call output. we have an object, and here we have the path. From path, we have a property called resolve. So path.resolve, double underscore, and the dir name will give us the directory that we're in, a comma, and we tell it that it's the dist folder that we created that we want to use for the output. We have a comma, and we're also going to specify a file name that we want to output to that folder. And it's going to be bundle.js. You can call it whatever you want. Okay? So this will look in the entry file and will process everything for us and output the bundle.js in the dist folder. And as I said before, Webpack only understands JavaScript, but we're going to be using CSS now, so we have to specify some loaders for this to work. And you specify loaders in Webpack on the module object, module, and we have an object. Then we set up some rules. We have an array, and inside the array we have another object. And we want to look in our CSS files. So with test, we have a property called test, and then we have a regular expression. We have a /, and then we have a backslash, .css, a $, and a /, and a comma. And this will make sure that it will check all the CSS files. If you don't know about regular expressions, there's probably a lot of people that don't do that. And I'm not an expert either, so you have to look this up if you don't understand it. But this will make sure that it checks all the files that has the extension of CSS. Then we have a property that's called use, and this is all Webpack stuff. It has to be named like this. And here we're going to specify our loaders. Remember this, I'm actually going to put a comment here. Note, order is from last to first. That means we're going to specify 3 loaders here. It's going to start from the bottom and it will chain them up to the top. So this is how loaders work. You run it through a loader and the output there will be the input to the next loader. So it will get chained, but it will work from the bottom up. So first we're actually going to specify style-loader, and this is going to be the last loader in the chain. Style-loader will make sure that the CSS that we're going to create here is injected in the DOM, because Webpack will put the CSS in the bundle that it creates. But style-loader will take that CSS and inject it into the DOM. Then we have the second loader, and we're going to have some options on this one. So it's an object, and we have a property called loader. And we specify the loader. It's the CSS-loader. In short, CSS loader will read the CSS from the CSS files and make sure that it parses all the imports and URLs for us correctly. And we're also going to set an option for this one, options. And we have an object, and we have something that's called import loaders, and we set that one to 1. So it's widely discussed on the internet, and to be honest, I don't have a really clear explanation about it either. When we set this one to 1, it will make sure that it applies this one to the loader before CSS loader. And in this case, it's going to be the PostCSS-loader. As I said before, it will go through these ones from bottom up. So PostCSS, then CSS, and style loader, it will take it in this order. So this will work if we create an index.html file that we're going to do soon. It will work, but I want to set up the dev server also for this one. So just below here, we make a comma, and we specify the property dev server, colon, a new object, watch content base, and this is all Webpack stuff that has to be specified like this. It's true. And the content base, colon, path, dot resolve, double underscore, dir name, and it's going to look in the dist folder. We have another comma, and the last, I forgot the T, content base. And then we set open to true because we wanted to open the web browser for us automatically. Okay, do some auto formatting. and save this one. So this is our Webpack setup, and as you can see, it is quite advanced. I think it's not that easy to grasp, actually. Okay, so just one more thing to do to get this up and running. We have to create our index.html file in the dist folder. So make sure that you're inside the index.html. And we're going to create a very basic HTML file here. So first, doc type, HTML. Then we have HTML language. We can set that one to English. Then we have our head. And we have some meta. Yeah, we can set the char set to UTF-8. Self-close it. Then we have another meta. Name equals viewport. This is actually not needed for this tutorial, but it's great to have it here from the beginning so you know that you're ready to go. We set the content to width equals device-width, and this one is for it to work with mobile devices. Initial, it's getting short on space here. Initial dash scale equals to 1. And we self-close this one. Then we can set up a title. And yeah, awesome Tailwind setup. All right, so that's the head. Then we have a body. We create a div with a class. And we're actually not going to specify any class yet. I'm going to do that soon. We're going to have an h1 tag. Yeah, this is awesome. And then it's really important to specify the script, because this is the script that Webpack will output all the stuff to. So we have a script tag, and the source is going to be bundle.js, because that's the one that we specified in the Webpack config. All right, and yeah, we can actually move this one inside the body that and do some auto formatting, and this should be all that we need. So save it, go back inside of our terminal. No, we can actually also specify the start scripts here first. So inside the package.json file, you can see that we have this test script that is created by default. I want to make a start script for us. Start, colon. And from webpack-dev-server _mode equals development _config. And we're going to specify the config. And that's the webpack.config.js. And make sure to make a comma at the end. We could also make a build script here, but we're not going to use that now. Yeah, I forgot to mention that before. Inside our Webpack config, you should, if you're going to use this in production, you should also add some plugin that will minify your CSS and make sure to clean up your CSS to only output stuff that you need. But I didn't do that now because, as you can see, this is already getting a quite long video. So I'm not doing that here because this is for you to get up and running, to use this locally and learn Tailwind, and this will work well for that. But if you're using this in production, make sure that you also add some plugins that will minify your CSS and clean up all the stuff that we don't use in the CSS. All right, so that's it. Let's go inside of our terminal. I can clear it and type npm start, and hopefully this will work. Yes, it is. If we go back here, this is going to be the final output. So I reload this. We haven't styled it with Tailwind yet, but we're going to try that out now. So go back inside of the code editor and inside our index.html file. And this class here, we can specify some Tailwind classes here. We're going to create a container. We set the MX to auto to make it center. And we set the background green, maybe 400. And we set the margin of Y to 10, the padding to 10, and I want some rounded corners, so rounded dash medium MD. So that's the Tailwind classes for that one. Save it. And as you can see, it styles correctly. It's using Tailwind. Whoa, that's great. It also reloaded itself. So this is so great with the Webpack server. You don't have to reload stuff. It will know when you change stuff in the code and reload it for you. And then we have the H1 tag. Yeah, we can specify some styles on that one also. So class text dash green dash maybe 800 on that one, and text dash LG. So we've specified that the text should be a little bit larger, and we sender the text with text dash sender and save it. Yeah. So, whew, this was a lot, I think, but this is how you set up Tailwind to work for you locally. And you can use this if you specify some more stuff. As I said, some plugins and stuff, you can use this in production also. Hope this was helpful for you. If you like this, check out my other videos and make sure to subscribe, because I'm putting up videos here on a regular basis.